Okay, so I'm going to show you an alternative way of covering planes with tissue paper. So this is a tailplane of a model I'm building at the moment, which is a vintage airplane, and it requires you to use tissue and dope. However, dope smells, and I'm going to use an alternative, which is this finishing resin. So I've got some tissue paper. Made a paper sketch, and I've drawn in the tailplane as to the pattern that I want, and I've cut the tissue paper with a little slight amount of overhang on it to the size that I want, and I find it's better to use the dark colour first then the yellow last, because there's a lot of ink that comes out of this, and if you get this onto the yellow it's not very good. You'll also notice there is a shiny side and a dull side. It's the shiny side that we want up. Okay, now this tissue is very delicate, and you just put that on there, it's going to break away. So what I do, cut a piece of clear plastic that is a little bit larger than the piece I want, lay that down, and I lay my tissue on top of that. Okay, so once it's wetted out I can lift it with that. So I've thinned this out to about 50 to 70% water, and this is quite thin, and this is what will shrink the tissue and stick it, and this is the resin, which is I think 90% resin, might be a little bit more. Okay, so I've already covered this with resin already, and that's dry now, so now it's ready for me to put another coat on. So what I want it to do is stick on the edges, so I'm going to paint the resin along the edges, because that's where I want it to stick. So that's where I want the most of it to stick, so I want it thicker. Okay, alright, now I use the wetted out stuff. It's quite warm in my loft, so you have to be quite quick with this. Okay, so now on the tissue paper, it's probably a bit too much water for tissue paper. A fine mist of spray would do, but I don't want to get it all over what I'm trying to show you. So this is another way of doing it. Okay, so now I can squeeze out the water like that, and smooth it down as well as I'm going. Okay, there we go. So now that's done, peel it back. There you go, I'll leave that to dry. I'll do it, as you see there's a lot of dye in that. Okay, so when that's dry I need to cut the yellow out and put the yellow one. Okay, so the tissue paper is now dried, and as you see it's smoothed out and it's quite nice. I've got the yellow to do next, but before I do the yellow I thought you might be interested in seeing alternatives. So here I've got a Gillows rubber powered airplane that I've converted to radio controlled. Now the covering on this, I didn't use tissue paper, I used brown parcel packing tape, which is this stuff, the cheap stuff that you would get from Asda, Walmart, places like that. It's thicker and stronger than tissue paper, and of course you can paint it, which is what I've done there. As long as you keep everything light, it's fine, and I've got a video of that one showing you. Now this is quite old and it's quite hot in my loft, and despite that, the covering has stayed perfect. Okay, these are the wheels on it that are just for static, they're not for just keep it as a model like that. Okay, so I'm just going to show you the inside and show you what we've got. Now I can take these wheels off when I'm flying it. Let's just show you the inside so you can see the paper. Okay, so that's the wing. Now obviously, because I've converted it to radio controlled, I've then filled with balsa sheet up to about there, then the rest of it is open frame. Okay, as you can see there, it's open frame, there's 1/16 stringers, but there you can see the brown paper. It is just brown paper, and that is strong enough and durable enough for me to make a radio controlled plane. Now this is one that I've designed myself, but this is again another one covered with brown paper. You might just be able to work out where the sheets of brown paper, I did it in sections like that to make it all up, because trying to handle a large sheet of wet paper is quite tricky to say the least. Now, covered it in brown paper, used the resin, I then sprayed it with paint, and the white I've used solar film on. It sticks quite well, but in certain places like there you can see it's lifted, and just for current, because the front part here I covered in solar film, and you can probably see it is bubbled up, whereas the brown paper stuff has stayed intact. This is solar film at the front, it does stick very well to it. This is the white is solar film, but you can see it's got little bubbles in it now. This is what happens with the heat, it sags and it releases that, whereas brown paper it doesn't. I'll just take the rubber band off so you can see again on the inside. There you can see the brown paper covering, and that's the whole model is covered that way, and yet it's still durable to make a small flying model. Now you think, well, that's probably okay for small models. Well, no, you can actually use it on large models, as I've done. Obviously I've only got a small amount of space here, but I'll just bring the wing in. This has been covered in brown paper too and painted. Now again, you have to do it in sections, so there you can just see the edge of the paper, and it's there as well, but again that's painted and covered. That's a large 50-inch model. It's a trainer I made for my son, but there's quite a lot of models I've done that way. So it's an alternative way of covering rather than buying expensive coverings. And in addition to that, let's just show you this piece of foam. Okay, there we go. So this is foam board, which I was testing my coverings out with. Check it's over, and as you see it's quite good. Now I did use a different make than that Poly-C to try that, because I'd run out of my Poly-C, I haven't had any of that Poly-C left, so I tried another manufacturer which is similar to that, and I tried it on the blue stuff here. As you can see, when I flex it, it hasn't stuck to the board properly. Now this is Poly-C, and as you can see, despite me ridging it, it's stayed stuck and rigid. Now it's got that mat there because I didn't use plastic film covering. I just tried to apply the tissue straight on, and it bubbled up when you touch it. It just breaks away, this tissue. But the other method I've just shown you seems to work fine, which is how I tested it on here, where I can do my stripes and my patterns on it, and I can. Once you do it that way, it's rigid. So good for balsa models and good for foam models. So that's a light way of colouring it. There's no paint on that, that's coloured tissue paper. So that's an alternative way to do covering foam models, which I'll try. Brown paper, which is a bit stronger, and paint it for larger models. And tissue paper for lightweight models. And you don't have to use smelly dope. So there you go. I've got some black trim to put on there later, and I've got the large model to do, so I'm going to do that next. But hopefully that's a little insight to you for a different method of covering. Okay.